Welcome to the Business Spotlight. I'm delighted to be joined today by Dom McMullan. He owns a company called Ganadores in Peterborough, but I'm not going to tell you what he does because that's up to Dom to do that. Thanks for sharing some time with us today, Dom.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, looking forward to learning some lessons. Let's start with a bit of background, a bit of context then. So just tell us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it.
Okay, so my name's Dominic McMullan, but Dom's absolutely fine. And my business is called Ganadores Limited, or on my business card, it's Ganadores Sports Marketing, which covers kind of a wide range of things, really. But the reason that we're talking now is more about the focus of what my business looks like post-COVID, because a bit of reinvention afterwards. So it's very much a business which helps sports clubs, associations, leagues in any sport, cricket, football, rugby, hockey, tennis, to help them to find the sponsors which they need to invest in the facilities at their club and to improve the life of the members at their club and and everything involved in running sports clubs, which is very expensive, volunteer-led, and to help them to think about their businesses as their own commercial power. So if you've got a membership of 250 people, when you start adding those people together in terms of average income which they own, the amount of houses that they own and what the value of those are, starting to think of the membership as, you know, these lads that I play cricket with, rather than there are 250 people there that all own a house and combined that's worth, you know, millions and millions of pounds. It starts to look like a more of an equation that's attractive to businesses. So what I then try to do is to try and match sponsors to come and join those sports clubs, have conversations with them, say, this is what the membership looks like. You need to really have a serious discussion about how you can use sport to how you can use sport as an investment in your own marketing to win new business and to generate long-term relationships with the people at sports clubs. So on a basic level, that's what Ganadores does at the moment.
Excellent. And you mentioned COVID. I mean, just talk about the market in general and how that's recovered for your particular business since the pandemic sort of came officially to an end, if you like.
Well, kind of during COVID was probably the only time in the last 13 years that I've been working for myself that I really felt like I really wanted to have a job. Right. So because the self-employed support was welcome, but certainly nowhere near as generous as the employed people were receiving. And I'm lucky to be sat here now with you, still working for myself, because I sort of barely clung on really through all of that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are you know, sole traders or running their own limited company, but it's one or two people who, some didn't survive and some did, and I'm one of them that somehow managed to. So the work changed massively. I did a lot of marketing support for businesses in the cricket industry, helping them to do their own email communications, managing their social media, creating content, negotiating their advertising contracts, looking at how they market their business. And that was all retained work. So for years, that was what it was that I did, was having sold advertising for EMAP, now Bauer. So I worked on car magazines and golf magazines, which was brilliant, to jump on the other side of the fence and help companies to do their own advertising better. They were very good at selling their own stuff, but they were terrible at making good decisions on where to spend their money in advertising. So having devised most schemes to sell advertising to people, you get pretty good at interrogating the ones that get sent into businesses, so you can help them to say, yes, it's our target audience, we need to look at it, or it's very much not, we need to forget that one and wait for something else more interesting to come in.
So thinking about thinking about why businesses sponsor sports clubs, then what do you see as the main benefit for a business to actively sponsor a team?
Well, I think if you go all the way up to the Barclays Premier League, Barclays wouldn't put, you know, the billions of pounds over however long that contract's for, if they didn't think it was a sensible proposition. Coca-Cola is always an interesting one. It spends on advertising and sponsorship support all the time. It never stops. You know, Coca-Cola is one of those brands that we all know we all remember, we all know what it tastes like, whether you have the diet or the full fat one. We all know, but they still persist, they still carry on, they still think it's valuable that they keep out there. There's people nibbling away at people's business, new entrants into the market. They have to keep their position, they have to keep, for want of a better phrase, the foot on the throat really of the competition, to say we're going to own these opportunities and take them away from you. But I think on a local level, the benefits of businesses investing in sport is any business's future will be based on long-term success. And you can't just, I know this, you can't just have a conversation with somebody one day and then all of a sudden that's going to turn into lots of business. These things take time. And what I said before about the membership is regular communication with a membership of people, being visible with those members, introducing your business to them. And also, if you spend some money supporting a tennis club, for example, those members will be immediately warm to your business because you're giving their club money to buy new nets or to improve the courts or to invest in some coaching for some of the members to train the kids through the winter and the summer. So there's already a warmed up relationship between a sponsor and a sports club. And
you think that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just thinking, do you believe that genuinely impacts on buying decisions?
Well, I think where there's synergy between the two, I mean, you've got to match a membership of a club with businesses that want to attract the people that look like those members. So a bit like advertising, you can't sell advertising in a business journal to people who are not interested in business journals. You can keep trying all day long, but you'll never get the bites. It's about matching the audience on both sides. So where you've got a sports club that has a need, it's about identifying those members. What do they look like? Where do they work? Are they professional people? Are they people who generally, is it a wide mix of people? And then trying to find businesses that want to do business with the people that from those clubs. One thing's for sure, there are some common pillars. If you're an estate agent, everyone needs somewhere to live, whether that's to buy a house or to rent one. We all need cars in order to get around. We all need insurance for everything that we own, including our lives, our houses, our cars, etc., etc. And we'll all need a solicitor for things in our life, for good and for bad. So there are 4 business areas that are serious targets for any sports club, because every single one of those people, if you're traveling to your home club or away, well, you're not getting there on a magic carpet, you're going by car in most cases. So those are some really sensible conversations. And what I've been trying to do recently, I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and the reason for that is to network heavily and to try and introduce myself to people within those sectors, to say, look, I'm building up a network of sports clubs here that will be really interesting to you, because every single person in there will be a target for your business at some point, not only in the lives of the members, but you will want to supply those services to those people.
And so it's not actually, I was thinking sports teams, but you're using the phrase sports club. So this does not have to be spectator sport, as it were, so that people are seeing, like the way that Peterborough FC, uses its stadium to advertise. You're talking about things like tennis clubs and other things like that.
Yeah, I think your local cricket club. Cricket's always been my sport, and while I played a reasonable standard around here, I mean, not especially brilliant, but reasonable enough. There wasn't anyone watching our games of cricket, even though we thought it was important. We used to get, our club was Nassington around here, and we used to get some people coming to watch. But it's not really about the people that are coming to watch. It's about amplifying that membership to a potential sponsor and saying, look, for example, I'm doing some work with Market Deeping Cricket Club at the moment. They've got 350 plus active members who, from the numbers that we crunched, they own nearly 300 properties amongst them. Now think about schemes like All Stars Cricket and Dynamos, which is between All Stars between 5 and 8 years old. Now a 5-year-old's not walking to the cricket club himself on a Friday night for training. Mum and dad are going to bring him. So those are the additional aspects of how a club membership is really interesting to people. You can buy advertising on the internet. You used to be able to buy advertising in your local paper, but sports clubs, by the nature of them, they want to go there because they want to play that sport. We know that those sports clubs cost money to be members of. The sports club knows it needs money to make things better. And if businesses are supporting them through sponsorship or advertising, it's a warmer conversation to have with someone who does, builds extensions onto your house, or can replace the windows, or can do a nice, beautiful resin driveway. It doesn't really stop. It's the prospect list is really, really long. So the fact that no one's watching doesn't really matter, because those members are still there, and they'll be there for years and years to come. And that's why those long-term relationships are absolutely vital.
So thinking about, success in business generally, your clients, the people that you want to have, sponsoring the sports clubs and things like that. What do you think are the important factors in success in business, both yours and the people that you work with?
I've been thinking about this one, and you sent me the list of questions that you might ask. The success. Well, I think you've got to have a desire to want to do it, first of all. I never really thought that I would work for myself. I never really thought that I'd be a person that would run my own business. And here I am. 2011 I started, and there's been some very good times, and there's been some pretty sketchy times. Key to success, you've got to want to do it. You've got to find something that you love doing. Lots of people talk about, if you do something that you really like, you really enjoy, you never work a day in your life. Now, sometimes I think that, but a lot of the times the work's hard, because I work in sport, and a lot of it's cricket related. You've still got to send emails. You've still got to make phone calls. You've still got to write proposals. Those things aren't interesting. They're just a consequence of what it is that you do. The interesting thing is the results that it generates, the people that you meet, the successes that it generates for other people, and how I'm able to make a living on the back of doing that. The
burning desire thing is really good. I haven't got a copy of it here, but Napoleon Hill wrote the book, Think and Grow Rich. Number one, I think, thing in there was you've got to have a burning desire to do it. But I want to take you to some of the lower points, if you like, in the roller coaster of business, because you mentioned, you've been in business for quite a long time now. There was the pandemic to deal with. When it comes to kind of resilience or fortitude, or the ability to, fall over and get back up again, how important is that? How do you deal with those moments when things aren't going quite so well?
Pretty tricky, really. COVID was what it was, but I've got no problem in talking about the mental health problems I had over the past as well, which really stopped me in my tracks. Not wanting to leave the house, really not wanting to talk to people, not wanting to reach out to anybody, don't want to see anybody, including close friends and family.
Right.
Now that's not very good when your business is based on, I need to pick up the phone to make some phone calls to people to try and sell them some things on a fundamental level. That's what it is. So there's picking yourself up from things like that, which, lucky for me, I was able to identify what was happening to me, to get some help through, and to understand how I manage that going forward, because it's not going away. It's in me, and I've just embraced that. But when it comes along, I just try and work with it. But I think the hard bits of anybody who's running a business is, your cash flow for your business. I can get commitment to lots and lots of deals, but until that money's been paid, it doesn't really mean anything.
That's true. That's true.
Cash
is king.
My first day really of working for myself was waking up in the morning and thinking, oh great, I'll work for myself now. What I'm going to do? Be at the office at 9 o'clock. I can go do something else. And then realizing that 4 weeks from now, because it was the beginning of September, that no one's going to put some money into my bank account at the end of the month, which is how it'd always been for me, because I'd always been employed. So I think those are the difficult bits, is just always the finance, and trying to get over the worry of, are they going to pay me? I've been pretty lucky. There's only been a couple of occasions where things have said, yes, we'll do that, and yes, we'll pay you, and it hasn't worked out. So I've been quite lucky. But it's kind of the constant worry of, if you were able to take the constant worry of money away, I think my life would be a whole lot easier.
Yeah,
But I don't think
definitely.
I certainly don't think I'd swap it. And I think the other hard thing is getting up for it. We talked about burning desire. I
Mm,
lucky Matt trained us very, very well when we were salespeople for them, and I use a lot of those skills still now. And one thing for a training course, and we'll try and get this right. I was thinking about this morning, which was show me somebody with a burning desire, and I'll show you a winner every time.
yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's me every day, but it's me some of the times. And if I can be that person more often than not, I'll do well. And what I'm doing post-COVID is really reinventing what I'm trying to do on a national level for people like National Counties Cricket Association, who I do some work with, through to a local cricket or a local rugby club or a local hockey club that need some investment to replace some floodlights at their ground. So those are all really great news stories for me, but it all requires a whole lot of hard work in the background. And the way my business is structured is I don't charge them anything unless I get success. So there are no retained fees. There's no, pay me X amount of pounds per month and I'll make all those phone calls for you. It's I'm backing myself to bring you the money.
Yes.
And you pay me a fee when you receive it. So
wow,
it's a bit of a weight on the shoulders.
Yeah.
But it's working so far. So I'm reasonably happy. And I only have myself to look after in terms of work. I don't employ anybody. I think I'd be a rubbish boss. So I've only got myself to look after and 3 cars to keep on the road. My sort of passion outside of work. So as long as I've got enough to do that, I'm reasonably happy.
And all these lessons, all these years of building the business, growing the business, building the relationships, dealing with the lows that are caused by often lots of external factors. If you were to kind of pick out, a couple of really good learnings for other business owners who are starting up and trying to grow a business, what would they be?
Well, I think the first one is, if you're thinking about it, stop thinking, just get on and do it. I met a guy at a networking event last week who was working for somebody else, very successful in finance, and he got to a sort of point of his life where it's, if I don't do something about this now, I'm going to continue working for this business, which will be very nice, but I could do it for myself now. And that's what he's done. So he took the big leap, and I think that's kind of as I said to you before, I never had a great desire to want to ever work for myself. It just kind of happened that it was, it just kind of happened, really.
Often the case. Yeah.
There's no great plan. It was just, well, I'm going to do that now. But I think if you're thinking about it, just go and do it, because the freedom, the energy you feel inside when you're starting to get something going is fantastic. And providing you can turn it into a business. And when I say turn it into a business, we can all have a website which looks fantastic, or I mean, mine doesn't, or lots of social media, but is a business successful? Does it pay you the money you want to live your life? So I think that's the fundamental, is can you actually make it pay? Can you run your car? Can you run your house? Can you have the holidays you want? Can you do the things that you want to do by doing that? And if you can't, that's not running a business. That's doing something that isn't going to earn you money.
It's a really important feature of my coaching. I always say to people at the beginning, the businesses do not exist in their own right for their own reasons. They exist to facilitate the life that you want. And I think when people lose that link between, this is what I want to do, the 3 cars that you've got that you'd like to keep on the road, and this is what the business has to provide so that I can do that, that provides a little bit more motivation and power to deal with the times when things aren't going quite so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if I want to have, this afternoon off, I mean, I've got a lot to do at the moment. This is a really busy time for me. In cricket in particular, the winter is really busy. The summer's when it all happens, really. So there's always lots to do. But if I want to have this afternoon off to go and have a cup of tea with my mum, I can do that. I've got that freedom. Yes, I was up, sending emails at 6:30 this morning for an hour, or I came here to work. And yes, last night I was sending emails at 9:30, 10 o'clock. But that's just the quid pro quo of it. You can't have it on both sides. There's only so much time. it's how you use that time, and it's 9 to 5 is selling time, and no one wants to have you phone them at 9 o'clock on a Friday evening trying to sell you a sponsorship of a sports club.
No.
So you do need to focus your time when it's relevant to people who you're trying to sell to. So sending emails to people about stuff, well, you can do that anytime. You do it at the weekends if you need to.
Yeah.
If you're employed, you might not choose to do that. Your employer might not want you to do that. But when you work for yourself, I'm not saying you have to, but you feel that there are times when an idea just comes to you and you say, right, I know he was interested in this kind of proposition.
Yeah.
Let's get that fired out there while it's in my mind now. And then it's done.
I mean, that's just there in that little section there. You know, if you're thinking about it, go and do it. Maintain the link between your personal ambitions and your business ambitions. And 9 to 5 is selling time. I mean, that's 3 brilliant lessons for small business owners.
Yeah.
You know, don't let go of the fact that you get a lot of flexibility and freedom. So no, I really appreciate that. So, I mean, thinking about your market sector, looking forward for you in your business, what are the challenges that lay ahead?
The challenges that lay ahead, very big. Before the internet, it was really quite easy. You used to ring people up and used to say, I'm from Golf World magazine, for example, selling them advertising. And naturally, there'd be a golf course or a manufacturer or something like that. And you'd have a conversation with them, and then you might go and meet them and present it to them and pitch for the business and come away with it, hopefully. I think more modern ways of marketing means that, you know, people tend to be more screen focused. They don't really want to have a conversation with you on the telephone. They'd much rather do it by email. And nobody formed a relationship by sending an email to anybody. So the biggest challenge is really getting people to engage with you on the telephone, and even more than that, getting to sit in front of them and explaining what it is that you have face to face. Because we can all write an email and try and be as descriptive as we can and as clear as we can, but if I sent one to you about something, you will read it differently to the way I wrote it, because we're all wired up differently.
Yeah,
so that's the big challenge, is giving people reasons why I should be invited to go and sit in front of them and sell them the things, that the propositions with local sports clubs that I'm generating at the moment, why they need to have some time in front of me so I can explain it to them and sell it to them properly and give them it from the horse's mouth, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah. And you're a salesman. You were trained, as you say, by EMAP. You have to sell in your business as I have to sell in mine. And I completely agree that face-to-face contact is more powerful than anything else. Give us some tips, Dom. How do we persuade somebody to accept a meeting where we can get face-to-face? What kind of techniques would you typically employ? It's
a good question. How do you get in face-to-face in front of somebody? Well, one of the sneakiest little tricks is, 9 to 5 selling time, which I said before. But if you're a business owner or a decision maker, the people who you're trying to sell to are normally quite busy, and they might not be taking calls. So if you're trying to get hold of somebody, phone them at 8 o'clock in the morning, because most employed people will turn up as 9 o'clock when work starts. But the business owner will normally be there early. So try and ring early, try and catch them before everybody else gets there, before their working day started, or after 5 o'clock, or whenever business hours finish. Because, business owners, sometimes they'll leave early, but if they've got a lot on, sometimes they'll stay late. Everyone's gone home. I can now focus on those other bits and bobs that I need to think about. And if the phone's ringing, and if they own that business, I was taught in sales training, particularly when our phones were ringing in our offices, that we don't let it ring more than 3 times. So always pick up the phone. And or that lots of people run their own business will do that as well, because you never know what's on the end of it.
And I'm putting you right on the spot now, so I apologize for this in advance. But if you're calling somebody that you've never called before, and it's a true cold call, do you have a particular opening phrase or opening line that you found to be effective over the years?
I think you've always got to say to them that the reason I'm calling you is, and you've got to have a reason why you're ringing. So you need to do some research before you're talking to that person. You need to find out a little bit about their business. You need to have a reason to be thinking about ringing them before. So why is the reason I'm ringing this guy? He runs a business that does that. I'm trying to find businesses that do that to support a sports club over here. So the reason I'm ringing you, Mr. Customer, is I'm working with the sports clubs down the road, and one of the things they really need at the moment is their roof repairing, and you're a roofing business. Now, they'd very much like to work with somebody, and how about we have a conversation about getting the roof fixed, but also how you might be able to sponsor that business, because 300 of the members there all own houses, and at some point they might need their roofs fixing. That's a bit of you put me on the spot, so I've just had to try and make something up.
I know, I'm sorry, but I thought I can't resist the temptation with a trained salesperson to just, dig under the surface for those techniques. So
very, very, you've just got to have a reason for the call, and then you've got to, this is the reason I'm phoning you. And I need to make you aware of it, because as somebody who runs their own business, this could be a great opportunity for you. And if you'd like to listen to what I got to say, let's get on with it. And be, you've got to be prepared for people to slam the phone down. People say, I'm not interested. You've got to be able to hear no. If you don't like hearing the word no, selling's not really the job for you.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Tell me about it in my business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and
very interesting. Yeah. So thinking about Ganadores, the company, where are you looking to take it then? What does the future hold for your company?
It's a very good question. And I said before that, I've got 3 cars to feed, that I like driving in Europe and taking them to car events and things like that.
Right.
So as long as I can always do those things, and most of the cars are quite old, so they need bits and parts and looking after, so there's always costs associated with it. Where would I like to take the business further? I think what I'd like to do if I'm skipping, say, 5 years down the road from now, having really just sort of reinvented Ganadores into this sports sponsorship business from being a retained business for other companies, helping them to do their advertising, which COVID wiped out completely. Is to have a network of sports clubs on one side who I've helped to fund projects and generate income so they can invest in their clubs, and have a network of businesses on the other side who are open to having discussions with sports clubs about how they can generate those relationships with their members and how they can turn those sponsorships into business through their own company. So it's quite a general answer. It's not I'd like to have a Ferrari, because wouldn't everybody, but the garage I've got, it wouldn't go in, so it's not realistic. And the two garages I do use have both got cars in already, so it's not I want to employ 10 people. I don't. It's, can I work on a level where in cricket I do work with, as I mentioned before, National Counties Cricket Association. 10 of those counties of 20 I'll be offering sort of direct commercial support to. So have I helped them to achieve more of the commercial opportunities within their county? Is my reputation in cricket stronger than it was before because of having done those things? Not that that's a personal motivation. I've always been quite self-conscious, and it's not that I like people to think, oh, he's a nice fella, but if you do a good job and do what you say you're going to do, most people think, he's a nice guy. He said he was going to do this, and he did it. No real goals in terms of I want to own a row of houses in a street somewhere. It's very more a case of, if I do my job, I'll be successful because I've done what I've said I was going to do. And I think that goes down to, when you say to people, I'll send you an email on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, or I'll phone you on Friday at 4 o'clock. You've always got to do those things, because the person on the other end, when you don't do that, so, well, he didn't phone me. He didn't. There's lots of that going on.
So true.
If you say you're going to do something, you have to do it on a very, very basic level. I missed a meeting with somebody recently, and I was mortified. And I met her yesterday, and I was just apologetic, and just overly. I said, really, really sorry. I said, I'm terrible. She's like, don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. But for me, it was like just one of the things is you just don't try not to do those things. Now, this was a Saturday afternoon, so it wasn't during the week. It's something that I got planned, and I'll be completely honest, it just completely slipped my mind. But there you go, that's my bad, and I'm going to try and make sure that that sort of thing doesn't happen again.
No. So let's have a think, just coming towards the end now, about things that are going on in your business, events you might have coming up, or promotions you might have coming up. Is there anything that you'd like to tell the community about what's happening in Ganadores?
So from a local level, which is what I'd like to talk about, just because I've decided to start trying to build this network of sports clubs on one side and businesses on the other, it's not as if I'm flooded with inquiries. No, my phone doesn't light up in the morning from businesses that we're desperate to spend money on supporting, local football clubs. Or there's not clubs out there who say we're desperate to find new sponsorship. Well, they are, but I need to get my face out there to start talking to them.
Yes.
Now, there are some successes. I won't name the clubs at the moment because nothing's been agreed 100%, but there's a local football club who I'm talking to about how they're going to be a bit more commercially aware with the assets which they have. I'm very lucky that they've got some opportunities to put up some quite large advertising positions which could generate significant amounts of revenue a year, tens of thousands of pounds every year. A hockey club who have got a project where they want to replace the floodlighting which they have for a number of reasons. Blown bulbs which cost a lot of money to replace. They've had them for a long time. Some of them are in the wrong place. The efficiency is not that great. So that's a big project. That's going to cost lots and lots of money, 50,000 plus and the rest. So that's a big project. Again, they're very lucky. They've got lots of sites where advertising can hang for people that want to support the clubs. And I'm working with them on how to build up a campaign of what that looks like, what the legacy is for the people that gave them the money to invest in that project. And Market Deeping Cricket Club, who I can mention because those things are agreed. I've tramped the streets of the town, banging on the doors of the estate agents, the solicitors, the financial advisors, and anyone who looks reasonably interested. A great proposition, a sports club that punches really hard in its local area, plays a very good standard of cricket on a Saturday. The next standard up is, can't really liken it to professional football where it's semi-professional, but they play Premier League cricket. They're one of only 300 clubs in the country that play at that level. So they punch really hard. So for a business looking to get involved in a sports club in that part of Greater Peterborough, they've got a good membership. They've got lots of people who come into the club. Cricket's a great sport to invest in because it's mainly in the summer. Sun shines sometimes, and enjoying a glass of beer and a glass of wine while watching a game of cricket, or even not watching it, just enjoying the company of the people that you're with. Is a great thing to do. So those are the things which are out there at the moment, and hopefully the football club and the hockey club, we can get some agreement on those and start getting them out there. I'd love to name them, but it might not come to anything, in which case you don't look that great.
One step at a time.
Absolutely.
Well, look, Dom, I mean, it's a great subject, and you've highlighted some really, really good lessons there for business owners. And that little bit in the middle about those three things that we talked about, I think absolutely really important for anybody who's watching who is just starting up in business. So I appreciate the time that you've spent with me today, and I look forward to sharing this with the network and getting the name of Ganadores out there. Thanks for your time today.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.